Alright, Shalom, Hebrews. This is a message from the Israelite Brotherhood. This is a message from the Israelite Brotherhood. Alright, Hebrews, I want to get into this little message. Man, about, I done spoke plenty times, man. I'm, always talking to Hebrews. And, man, our history ain't lining up. And Tanakh say that we'll know the truth. Okay, in order to know the truth, you have to know what happened to us. And I be explaining to Israelites over and over that it's a lot of Israelite history in the world that don't belong to us. Yes. And the reason that I say that the Israelite history don't belong to us is because most Israelites don't know that a group of people been claiming our heritage since we abandoned it, and basically was in our heritage before we abandoned it. I got videos explaining how the Amorites got into our heritage. Okay, if those people got into our heritage and we never dislodged them, then it's evidently that they gonna have a history. They gonna have a history, and ain't nothing we can do about it since we was set to get kicked out the land and lose our heritage. And that was told by Almighty Yah from when we left Egypt the first time. When we exited Egypt, going into the promised land, Almighty Yah had told Prophet Moses that we would break the covenant and worship other gods. And it eventually happened in the book of Jeremiah when we was all driven out the land. As I explained over and over, that it wasn't no 10 lost tribes, and that all the tribes, everybody got chased out the promised land going into Africa. And if your history is not stating this, or you not explaining this, then you explaining the people heritage that we abandon everything to. And man, that ain't doing us no good. That ain't doing us no good. Man, we've been getting tricked, man, with this history for a long time. You know what I'm saying? We've been getting tricked with our names. Man, we've been getting tricked throughout our history. When is the trickery gonna stop? And it only stop when Israelites understand true history. A lot of our history wasn't documented on purpose, but the Israelite Brotherhood done documented it. You know what I'm saying? I show you that we broke covenant during the Babylonian Wars, and we ran into Africa, and our first derogatory name is Grammentian by the Greeks. And how that we forsook the covenant in the promised land were basically being driven out. We ain't have no choice, because the people that Almighty Yah caused to get us up off the land, the Scythians, who is Ashkenazi today, that, man, we didn't have no way of fighting them with the technology that they had with the crossbows and so forth. But we was most certainly driven out the land. We was most certainly driven out the land. We was most certainly driven out the land during the Babylonian Wars. And if you're an Israelite and your history ain't saying this, and you saying some other stuff, meaning about how we got in captivity or driven off the land, then, man, you basically, been tricked, and you spreading falsehood. Our enemies are crafty, and they've been in control of quite a few civilizations. I didn't explain that in quite a few videos, how the Amorites, the Sebhardis, been around since the Sumerian, Akkadian, in Babylonian, Assyrian, all those civilizations. They done had their hands in all of them as Amorites. Alright. Israelites, our history have to start lining up with the truth, and we're going to have one history. One history. And if we ain't got one history explaining what happened to us, then we ain't going to never get it together. We're going to prolong getting it together, because Almighty Yah said that we're going to know the truth. And the truth is what happened to us and why we was driven off the land. We was tricked out the land because we wanted to do the Egyptian religion, and we never forsook the Egyptian way of life, basically, because the tribe of Ephraim kept a strong relationship with the Egyptians. You know, going into the promised land with Prophet Moses, they had to do what he said, and you know what I'm saying, and everybody had to do what Prophet Moses said, and Joshua and the little few leaders, you know, after that. But basically, the tribe of Ephraim kept an association with the Egyptians. Kept association with the Egyptians. Man, they kept association with the Egyptians, and then that would eventually get us doomed. Get us, you know, kicked out the land. And then this is what I want to go into, how many times the Israelites been tricked throughout their history. Will the trickery stop? Well, if an Israelite is teaching history or spreading history and it's not flowing off the Tanakh, man, they spreading trickery. They tricking folks with the Israelite history. And we be tricking ourselves too, because we don't know that the people that we abandon our heritage to have a history. So, you know, you have Israelites pick their history up and, man, go tell an Israelite that mess as if it's true. Man, he just tricked him. Man, he just tricked him with some Israelite history. And then that's been going on for a long time. The whole world been getting tricked. You know what I'm saying, on the Israelite history. When is the trickery gonna stop? We can only put a stop to it is when we start showing truth of what really happened to us, to the Israelites. The people from the transatlantic slave trade. Man, I was reading one of my Facebook posts where one of the guys from another ethnic group got a little mad a little bit because he said that the worst Hebrews are the Hebrews that believe that the Negroes only are the Israelites. And I'm telling you, Israelites, you can be tricked real easy believing any other way that the Israelites are not the Negroes, the blacks, the African Americans only. And that, yes, we done mix with a lot of ethnic groups, and as I explained, if you have transatlantic slave trade descendancy, you know what I'm saying, blood in you, then you're going to be Israelites. Man, when we made it with the natives, man, when we made it, you know what I'm saying, we made with Hispanics, what they call Caucasians, Indians, and Chinese, and everybody. So if them folks got transatlantic slave trade ancestry, then they got some Israelite in them. Ain't no question about that. But the pure stock is the people from the transatlantic slave trade, direct descendants that was enslaved on a plantation and then freed. And we are their descendants. And we the pure stock. You know, even though some of us, you know, can trace, you know, they got a little mix during the slavery days, but, you know, Almighty Yah said that would happen, and I could easily show that would happen, but I want to talk about a whole lot of things, but let me show that Almighty Yah said that would happen, and I'm almost close to the verse, ain't that something? Alright, let's see. That'll be... Yeah, man, Almighty Yah said that would happen. Then we would get mixed up. And, you know, some of the folks would be mixed because of our captivity. You know, if you a slave and you've been enslaved, then how is you not gonna get mixed? How is you not gonna get mixed? It's gonna be impossible for you not to get mixed if you in slavery in another land and so forth. So then that's why come this was said. This is Jeremiah 31:27. Behold, the days come, said the Elohim, that I will sow the house of Israel and the house of Judah with the seed of man and with the seed of beast. So, you know, that happened during the slavery days. And, you know, so the people that can trace their ancestry to the transatlantic slave trade descendants, then they can claim an Israelite heritage with us. You know, we can't do nothing but, you know, say that they, you know, got some Israelite in them because, you know, they mix with us. But if you ain't mixed with us and you just a pure Native American, a pure Hispanic, you know, with your ancestry coming from Spain and so forth, or you a Caucasian, and with your ancestry coming from German and Poland and France and Lithuania and the United Kingdom and so forth, all these up north nations, you ain't gonna be an Israelite. You're not an Israelite because these are the people from the north that Almighty Yah sent down to chase us out the promised land. So as we was getting chased out the promised land, them folks was coming in. You see what I'm saying? And then they settled. They settled, and all this is documented in the book of Jeremiah. When you first open it, he tell you that's when we was being tricked by the Egyptians. You know, we was being tricked by the Egyptians after they had killed King Josiah. And they tricked us and put us on the Egyptian religion. And then that was our final act. And then we got driven off the land by the people from the north. And then this easily shown too. That's easily shown too. And the people of the north gonna represent Babylon and the Babylonian way, the daughter of Babylon and all that stuff. But this happened during the Babylonian wars. You know, the Chaldeans was basically controlled by Ashkenazi under the name Scythian. You know, whatever army, strong army in the nation, then they gonna control that nation. And they control Chaldea. I got plenty of videos explaining Ashkenazi history in relations to the Israelite heritage, and I showed that, you know, that they was with the Chaldeans under the name Scythian, and then I showed that they settled in our land that's called Scythopolis, and they even got the arrowheads, man, that they, you know, been finding and stuff that only they produce, and that's why come they a war nation, and Almighty Yah sent a war nation to get us up off the promised land. It was going to take a war nation, man, to get us up off the promised land because we ain't nothing to play with ourselves as a nation and as fighters and so forth. As you know, we've been in captivity, and man, you see how brutal they got to be towards us and so forth. But Ashkenazi name in history. In history, it is Scythian. It's Scythian. And then they made up the Chaldean army. They made up the Chaldean army. And if any Israelite ain't explaining that, men in their history, then they gonna be tricking you. You being tricked. You being tricked. You know what I'm saying? Cause man, they, you know, they don't know. And man, if they telling a lie, man, that's the same as trickery, man. If they telling the truth, that's the same as tricking you and stuff. So you being tricked with Israelite history. So if an Israelite ain't showing that Ashkenazi is the Scythians and that the Scythians made up the Chaldean nation and controlled Chaldea, and that those were the people that drove us out the promised land. Now this group right here, the Sephardims, the Sephardi's, I explained their history, and they are Amorites. And they got in our land. They tricked us. They tricked us after we exodus Egypt with Prophet Moses. And after Prophet Moses passed away and Prophet Joshua come in charge, and then they would come in as the Gabonites. And I show in videos that the Gabonites were Amorites, and that these people from Sephardim are the pure stock of the Amorites. The pure stock of the Amorites. You know, that's why Almighty Yah told Prophet Abraham that the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet full in relations to the 400-year prophecy, where people ain't been able to see them and understand them, man, to them. And only the Israelite Brotherhood been able to explain them in relations to the Israelite history. That's why come I say you Israelites got to be careful, because you can be tricked easy with Israelite history just waking up. You can be tricked with Israelite history easy just waking up. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes, man, you be wandering off lost for a long time, and you don't never get back to truth, you know, because you got a lot of people out to trick you with the Israelite history. You know, the church is doing it. Man, the churches trick people every day that they go in there on Sundays, tricking them, man, about Israelite history, because the biblical history is centered around Israelite history, even though the New Testament is not Israelite history, and is the people that settled in our land after we was driven out. You know, you see how easy it is to get tricked with Israelite history when they included a New Testament, and you see how that mess tricking everybody all around the world. Everybody been getting tricked with the New Testament, and there's no such thing as a New Testament for the Israelites. After the covenant was broken during the Babylonian wars, about 500, 600 years, man, before Christianity even get a start, we was already done and cooked up off the land, and then the settlers, most settlers come, all the people from the north, most settlers come. And that's how you know that Tanakh is real, because if you understand real history, then you can see all what Prophet Jeremiah said come to pass. You know, that's like, man, when I explained how we got tricked during the Babylonian times after King Josiah was killed, and then that ushered in the Babylonian wars, and then how the Egyptians tricked us, and then made us think that we could be secure and secure and comfortable in Africa or in their holdings. And we was tricked real easy, because we was in bondage in Egypt. We was in bondage in Egypt making bricks, doing Egypt built the building industry. You know what I'm saying? We built and made bricks, mortar and bricks and so forth. And then Egypt builded a lot of stuff in Egypt, not just the monuments, but the houses and so forth. Egypt had a whole lot of houses and so forth, and Israelites would, man, perform and make the bricks for them, and do the labor and so forth. You know what I'm saying? That's like when Amorites, uh, uh, them Amorite conquistador Sephardims, the Sephardims, the ones, the Edomite branch, came into Africa. Man, they went to Spain in 70 AD. Went to Spain, and then they hung out there for a long time and sailed around and stuff. And then they would, come to America and take it over. I got a video explaining how the Amorite ancient noble families founded America, even though Ashkenazi come wrestled and took control of it from them, but how they founded it. And if an Israelite ain't explaining it, then he tricking you with the Israelite history. You being tricked because you got to include this. These are the people whose history that the Israelites use and say that it's ours because they have pigmentation, especially the Sephardim, especially the Sephardim, because the Sephardim gonna be Edomites that are mixed in with Hamites and all other kind of pigmented peoples and stuff, spreading what they call Judaism everywhere. This group right here, man, they really spreaded Judaism, and they spreaded a lot of it in Africa, and that's why the Israelites being tricked on Israelite history, thinking that everybody is an Israelite, is when you have the Limbas and the Igabus who still doing the Israelite heritage after we abandoned the covenant for Egyptian religion as stated in Tanakh. See, it's easy to get tricked on the Israelite history. Those Igabus and Limbas are off the Sephardims that come from Sana, that's in Yemen. And matter of fact, man, this is a cold thing. It is that this let you know that the Saudi is Saudi is the Edomites. The Jordans is the descendants of the Edomites. All them, I explained in the video how we got to get all the holdings from Jordan that Jordan got that belong that's part of the promised land that Jordan got hold of it, and all they got to fall to the transatlantic slave trade descendants that they gonna have to come up off that in Hebron, Ramallah, and Bethlehem, and all that's included. All right, but Saudi Arabia, that's Esau, that's Edom, in Yemen, that's his nephew, that's Eliphaz's son, that's Eliphaz's Edom's son, and Eliphaz's son is Yemen. And then you can see the power play that the Edomites got over Yemen is when the crown prince of the Edomites made that leader of Yemen bow down and get out of power, so they could try to regroup and stuff. You know what I'm saying? So they could try to regroup, but how that Saudi Arabia is calling shots over Yemen. You know what I'm saying? And all these other little nations too, basically. And I already show that Omar is Oman. All those are Eliphaz sons that are Edom sons, and these are Edomites. And it's a trip how Israelites are being tricked on the Edomite history, thinking that the Europeans are the Japhet, Caucasian nations, Japhet and all them, calling them Edomites and so forth. But because they skin tone that they to know, man, the real red is gonna be them folks that we would call red. You know what I'm saying? If you ever seen the Hebrew that's kind of light pigmented and we call red, them folks is closer to that. That's that real red that we talking about. You know what I'm saying? And that's gonna be Edom, and it's Edom's descendants and so forth, where they went off into Africa through Yemen. As prophet Obadiah explained that Edom would have our heritage and then live in our land and so forth. And we know that them folks from the north ain't just all pulled up, but that these folks right here share off of our heritage because of that religion that they got. Judaism, Christianity, and Islam all come off a broken covenant and was created by the folks that we abandon our heritage to, and that those three religions don't represent the truth in the Israelite heritage. And then that's why them religions don't line up with real Tanakh history and real truth about the Israelites. Those religions don't point who the real Israelites is, and they take you far away from it. You know what I'm saying? Because the Jews who we abandon our heritage to control Judaism. And then the other nations surrounding them thought that they was Israelites after we had ran off. They thinking that they Israelites, and then they base their religions men upon dealing with them. So that's trickery and falsehood right there. You see? And then, like I explained, that them folks that got our heritage, I explained how John Harnicus, man converted all Edom in 130 BC. They was already in our heritage way before then, but officially, man converted all of them, and then how did they would all go down, you know what I'm saying, here, and then how did those Yemenite Jews would go over into Ethiopia, and you know, that's who Haile Selassie and all them folks, you know, kind of, you know, descended off of those Ethiopian Jews and all them pigmented folks that claim an Israelite heritage that didn't get enslaved and ain't suffered none of the curses and so forth. Well, they gonna be coming off Edom, the Edomites, that they got our heritage and so forth. John Harnicus, 130 BC, and a bunch of other times, and that's gonna be the Sephardims. See, if you ain't talking about this in your Israelite history, and somebody talking to you about some Israelite history, and they ain't include none of this, then they ain't gonna be telling you the truth, and that they gonna be speaking trickery and falsehood and all other kind of stuff, because this is real Israelite history. You know, if you ain't explaining who the Sephardim is, and then how they come into our heritage and so forth, then you're not showing real Israelite history, and that you tricking the Israelites with false history and so forth, using the people we abandon our heritage to history and so forth, and they have a history. That's no trick. That's no lie. They have a history, and Israelites use it all the time. You know, that's like those Sephardims. Those Sephardims, them gonna be the ones in Spain that the Khazars corresponded with and so forth, when the Khazars was hanging from Ukraine all the way down to Armenia, men controlling this little pass right here between the Black Sea and the Caspian Sea and so forth. You know, and then how that they would correspond with them Edomites in Spain. And then, you know, and them Edomites couldn't believe that some Israelites had set up in a cold region, somewhere real cold and stuff, because them Edomites always hung around the coast of Africa and India and China, and, you know, the Sephardi's everywhere. You know, I even show how Sephardi the first to set up in India and China and stuff. So those are Amorites, those are Edomites. You know, and then how that they would be in Spain, and then how that they would go to the Americas and set up, and then to the North Americas, and then how that them was the folks that come dominated the slave trade, the Sephardims. The Israelites that be fooled and tricked by them that say, oh, that's us. But because they see a little pigmentation. You know, I got videos explaining how Edom even mixed with the Hamites and how Pharaoh gave them land. That's why the Edomites in control of Egypt right now. They got Egypt on lock and digging up his kings and all this stuff, just like the Tanakh say that it'll dig up the ancient folks out the earth and stuff, men and so forth. And then that's happening. That's been happening. All right, Israelites. Man, we can't keep getting tricked and be listening to everybody got something to say on what's Israelite history, and it ain't always true. I'm here to tell you now, it ain't always true, because if you ain't flowing off the Tanakh, which leads to our entire complete end, our entire disengagement from the covenant, showing that we went into Africa to do the Egyptian religion, the African religions. Now, if your history ain't showing that, and then you talking about some 10 lost tribes stuff and how the Israelites got everywhere because of a 10 lost tribe, then you tricking Israelites. You tricking Israelites. If you even mention a 10 lost tribe, you tricking Israelites. As I explained in plenty of videos, that it never was any 10 lost tribes, that all the Israelites ran into Africa, not just Judah. Everybody. It's just that the other Israelites was up off their land living in Judah, and they didn't use their territorial inheritance land, because remember, everybody like Ishgar lived in the territory of Ishgar. If you was from Dan, you lived in the territory that the Creator gave for Dan. If you was from the tribe of Naphtali, you lived in the territory of Naphtali. That's why come King Hezekiah sent a letter throughout all those tribes, because that's where our that's where our last names would have been, and where we would have started from was the territory that the Creator gave us, the lots that we was given, our permanent land. But once we was driven off that into Judah's territory, they ain't called, because we all mixed up and living everywhere. You know what I'm saying? That we ain't just going by our Pacific tribal last names anymore. And then we was driven out the land as one during the Babylonian Wars into Africa to do the Egyptian religion. I got all that recorded. I'm gonna go into some of that. But I never did show this. Man, about the people from the north coming down like Almighty Yah said. Alright. It was during King Josiah time that, the Egyptians killed him. Put us on the Egyptian religion. We tricked, thinking that that's why our safety and we can find refuge with them, not knowing that there's no escaping Almighty Yah or the prophecies that Moses had gave us 800 years before. Because like I show in the video, that we only lived on the promised land about 820 years. That we only got about 820 years from Exodus to the time that we was driven out. Well, the people that we abandoned our heritage to, been in our heritage for 2,000 men, over 3,000 years. So what's 800 years compared, man, to 3,000 years? It's hardly nothing. So the people in the north been holding on to an Israelite heritage longer than we had the covenant and being in the land. And that's some cold mess. Now, if an Israelite ain't telling you that, ain't showing you that, then man, he ain't showing you nothing. Look, and it should also, let me see, and it come also in the days of Jehoiakim the son of Josiah, king of Judah, unto the end of the 11th year of Zedekiah. All right, let's see. Be not afraid of their faces, for lo, I am with thee to deliver thee. And then Elohim put forth his hand and touched my mouth. And the Elohim said unto me, behold, I have put my words in thy mouth. See, I have this day set thee over the nations and over the kingdoms, to root up and to pull down and to destroy and to throw down and to build and to plant. And that's what he did with his prophecies of all the nations that we had dealing with. The prophet Jeremiah, like Elam and Moab and Edom. Man, he gave a prophecy about all those nations if you read the book of Jeremiah. And they done basically done came to pass. I'm here to tell you, they done come to pass. They done came to pass, and they coming to pass now. So that's truthful when Almighty Yah said that he given him the power to speak over the nations. Because if you read the book of Jeremiah, man, he gets, man, I believe that's in the 20s. Let me see, man, if I could pull some of that up. How he spoke about Elam, Babylon, Assyria, and all those nations. You know what I'm saying? Man, before they got destroyed. And then that's what happened. It's just like he said, and he spoke of all the nations, Egypt, everybody. You know what I'm saying? Prophet Jeremiah gave an oracle about him, and it come to pass just like he said. All right, all right. Moreover, the word of the Elohim came unto me, saying, Jeremiah, see what seest thou? And I said, I see a rod of an almond tree. Then said the Elohim unto me, thou hast seen well. They probably showing him a hologram and stuff. For I will hasten my word to perform it. And the word of the Elohim came unto me the second time, saying, what seest thou? And I said, I see a seething pot, and the face thereof is toward the north. I mean, he seen a seething pot, something boiling up out of it. You know, that's a hologram he's showing him. You know, Almighty Yah them pulled up in them sky vehicles that can get down like the flash of a lightning. If you read the book of Ezekiel, and this was kind of like the book of Jeremiah is a little bit after that, whereas the Babylonians had come in the first time and snatched the folks up. That'd be the book of Ezekiel. And then we was trying to giving us a little chance, and then how we wouldn't listen after Prophet Jeremiah had went into the temple and read the letter and so forth. Well, Baruch read the letter, and how we were supposed to stop robbing and killing and stealing and doing all that wicked stuff to each other, and then how we was driven out the land. Got driven out by the folks from the north. This seething pot right here, look. All right. And the word of the Elohim came unto me the second time, saying, what seest thou? And I said, I see a seething pot, and the face thereof is toward the north. Then the Elohim said unto me, out of the north an evil shall break forth upon all the inhabitants of the land. For lo, I will call all the families of the kingdoms of the north, said the Elohim, and they shall come, and they shall set every one his throne at the entering of the gates of Jerusalem, and against all the walls that are around about it, and against all the cities of Judah. So then if everyone comes set his throne at the entering of the gates of Jerusalem, then them folks gonna be in the land. Then they gonna be in the land, and then they gonna have a history. Now, them folks ain't been driven out the land. We didn't drive them out because they drove us out. They drove us out into Africa. They drove us into Africa, and then we stayed there to the Seb-Haridims, the Edomites, come and slayed us, and then brung us over here to the Americas. Now, even though Ashkenazi Russia control of the country and so forth, but if you listen to Dr. Tony Martin, he explaining to you with documented history that it was the Seb-Haridims, the Sebhardis, men the ones that dominated the transatlantic slave trade. And it makes sense because they got pigmentation and they can come on into Africa and mix and look around. Whereas the other folks, the Ashkenazi, who is mostly of Scythian, European, German, and of that ancestry and so forth, Poland and Lithuania and all up in them parts is where their ancestry come from. They ain't gonna do too well in the interior of Africa, the tropical council and so forth in the middle and anywhere in there and stuff, that they didn't just get able to come into Africa, man, until they got air conditioning and stuff. The Romans would come try to get off, and they would only get the cities on the coast, that they never just got down way deep into Africa and so forth, because the humility and them folks will fall apart, in the swamps and that hot steamy weather and so forth, that them folks didn't start doing good until they got air conditioning. Then they started mopping Africa up. But back in the days, in the BC days, them folks wasn't trying to go hang down in the swamps and in Africa. The best that they ever did was when we ran into Africa during the Babylonian wars, and then the Greeks, after destroying the exiles, come try to get up with us under the name Gramentian. That's our first derogatory name that the Greeks called us. We didn't call ourselves that. They never document what the so-called Grammentians called themselves. They, even right now today, they won't even see it because they know who we were and stuff, because the people's everything was identical to us, you know, and I got it documented in the video. Well, the Greeks come down, we'll whoop them, and then the Romans come down, we will whoop them real bad, and they would only just come down as far as Libya and so forth, and we hung out, you know, been around about these parts a little bit lower than that. That's why they get that name, that evil name, Sub-Sahara, you know, not knowing that, you know, people can move anywhere that they want to in Africa, and that they ain't never acknowledged no Sub-Sahara, this part or that part, and now this is one big old landmass, you know. You know, but the Edomites would come in and set up shop and live in Africa and stuff, and they will have an Israelite heritage, and then, you know, Israelites get confused by them because they see, man, that they got an Israelite heritage, and then they pigmented, and then they don't, you know, consult Almighty Yah's word on what He laid out, far as the curses and so forth, and how that none of those folks that claim an Israelite heritage in Africa meet none of the curses, and how that they ain't been enslaved or none of that stuff, and they ain't suffered none of the bondages that we done been through in a foreign land and so forth, and how Africa was not a foreign land to the Israelites, being that we got our minerals, the minerals that made up the breastplates and so forth. I got them in the video showing that we was all in Africa getting the minerals for the breastplate, and to do trade with the other nations and so forth, and how like Africa was our backyard and stuff. And that's why come we was comfortable with going there during the Babylonian Wars, all of us, you know. Now, man, if the Israelite ain't explaining the history kind of like this, man, that they ain't showing no real Israelite history, and then how that they just gonna be using the Jews' history. You know, we got cut off real fast for violating Almighty Yah's covenant, that we didn't get a chance to stick around and have the covenant in all these different lands up off the promised land is the own. It is impossible. You know, the only way that you can do the covenant is on the promised land. That's like now here in captivity. You know, you got a lot of Israelites, you know, think that they can do the covenant, or that we still up under the old covenant that Moses gave us. You know, you can't do a covenant in captivity. You know what I'm saying? It's impossible, because the whole covenant was based upon freedom, liberty, sovereignty. Our own sovereignty is what the covenant was based upon. Anything outside of that is captivity for an Israelite. And then that's what happened to us. But you got Israelites thinking that we can do the covenant, you know, the broken covenant in a foreign land in captivity. You know, that's just our desire to want to turn back to our righteous roots that we know where safety once was, that's in our mind. And Almighty Yah gonna, you know, save us, and we're gonna, you know, have us some land. You know, I'm working on it. You know, the Israelite Brotherhood working on it. It don't seem like it, but behind the scene, I'm working on it, and I'm the only Israelite in the Israelite community that's working on us trying to get established in the promised land in Hebron. You know, the Ashkenazi don't control Hebron, even though they slowly moving in, but they ain't got control of Hebron. And I already show that the table's turning, and how Edom is finna get the ups, because Russia is backing the Edom, as well as China backing the Edomites and so forth. You know, it all boils down to our freedom, because them nations didn't participate in the slavery trade, but, you know, that they being used to bring, you know, the other nations down. You know what I'm saying? That's like, you know, I was looking at this man about Cyrus, how Almighty Yah called Cyrus just before he was born, like 142 years before he was born, and then how Prophet Isaiah spoke of Cyrus, and then how Cyrus destroyed Babylon. But it's supposed to be the daughter of Babylon. Babylon's supposed to have a daughter, and I showed that America is it. America is the daughter of Babylon, easily shown, because the Amorites, who we abandoned our heritage to as the founder of Babylon, that'll be the Sephardics, the Sephardics, and how did they come over here and set up a total Babylonian system that's identical to ancient Babylon, coming from Sipper, where them folks from Sipper and them Babylonian scribes and set up an identical Babylonian system, identical Babylonian system, and what they had in Babylon, and how them folks done set up an identical system, and then how folks don't even know it, and then how they searching around for the daughter of Babylon, and how the United States is it. The United States is the daughter of Babylon, without question. Without question. And he got the Israelites in captivity inside. Without question, but America is the daughter of Babylon. I had some pictures in relation, man, to that, and I'm gonna easily show that America is the daughter of Babylon. You know, that's easy to show. And you know, that Statue of Liberty gon', you know, represent it too. Yes. Alright, Israelites, I wanna read this little information that I had. Let me see. I think it's in the book of Isaiah. If I can turn to it. Man, I had it. Alright, bam. Let's see. I was talking about Cyrus. Alright. This said the Elohim to his anointed, to Cyrus, whose right hand I have holding to subdue nations before him, and I will loosen the loins of kings to open before him 2 gates, and the gates shall not be shut. I will go before thee and make the crooked places straight. I will break in pieces the gates of brass and cut in sunder the bars of iron, and I will give thee the treasures of darkness and hidden treasures of secret places, that thou mayest know. And then sure enough, man, you know what I'm saying, Cyrus, you know what I'm saying, had it like that. Ashkenazi got Cyrus. Ashkenazi killed him in the end too. And that I, the Elohim, which call thee by thy name, am the Elohim of Israel. You know what I'm saying? That's like Almighty Yah knew Prophet Jeremiah before he was born. You know, knew him before he was born and so forth. So it ain't nothing for Almighty Yah to know his messengers then before they born and so forth. Alright. For Jacob my servant's sake, and Israel mine elect, I have even called thee by thy name. I have surnamed thee, though thou hast not known me. I am the Elohim, and there is none else. There is no Yah beside me. I greet thee, though thou hast not known me. And that's sure enough the way, the state of mind we in, and we constantly, us Israelites that understand Tanakh history, our true history, we constantly be explaining to the Israelites that believe in demigods that it ain't none but Almighty Yah. That Almighty Yah is our only Savior. You see, that's when the Israelite been tricked. He been tricked real good. Meaning if he be believing in that Jesus or that Yawashi or that demigod stuff, because Almighty Yah set the curses, and ain't nobody can save us from that. And we don't need no Yawashi or no Jesus to save us from our, or to die for our sins when we still paying for our sins, withering away in bondage and so forth. And how did that doctrine come from? Our slave captors who put that doctrine on us in the slavery days, tricking the whole world with that mess. Alright. I am the Elohim, and there is none else. There is no Yah beside me. I greet thee, though thou hast not known me, that they may know from the rising of the sun and from the west that there is none beside me. I am the Elohim, and there is none else. I form the light, and I create darkness. I make peace, I create evil. I, the Elohim, do all these things. Drop down, ye heavens, from above, and let the skies pour down righteousness. Let the earth open, and let them bring forth salvation, and let the righteousness spring up together. I, the Elohim, have created it. Woe unto him that striveth with his maker. And then that's us. We've been striving with our maker for a long time, striving against him, fighting against Yah, because Almighty Yah created us to set a standard of righteousness in the earth. And if we the light in the standard of righteousness in this earth, and then we wicked and evil, then that's what the earth gonna kind of like lean towards, and that's what's been going on right now. So we striving with our maker if we trying to be evil and wicked like our enemies are. I know it's hard, it's real hard, because man, some of us just been raised up in the wickedness, and that's all we know. But Almighty Yah is a light, and if we cling to his light, or go towards his light, then we're gonna be able to see. All right. Woe unto him that striveth with his maker. Let the pot shed strive with the pot shed, or the earth. Shall the clay say to him that fashioned it, what maketh thou? Art thy work? He had no hands. Woe unto him that saith unto his father, what begetteth thou? And that's what with that Jesus stuff. Or to the woman, what hast thou brought forth? This said the Elohim, the Holy One of Israel, and his maker. Ask me of things to come concerning my sons, and concerning the work of my hand. Command ye me. I have made the earth and created man upon it. I, even my hand, have stretched out the heavens, and all their hosts have I commanded. I have raised him up in righteousness, and I will direct all his ways. He shall build my city, and he shall let go my captives, not for a price nor reward, said the Elohim of hosts. And then that sure enough come to pass with Cyrus, when Cyrus freed the exiles. And then that little 1% come back home. That's the book of Ezra, Nehemiah, Haggai, Zechariah, and Malachi. And then how did those Israelites broke the covenant, man, and sinned and messed off, and then that was the end of Israelite history. I got a video explaining what happened to the exiles. The exiles sinned so bad that that's what made the Greeks come. The Greeks wouldn't have never showed up if the exiles hadn't been sinning and so forth. And it was the exiles sin from Babylon that made the Greeks show up. Without question, that's what made the Greeks come into the land. It's because of these Israelites. If you read this history, and I got it documented on all of them, that if you read this history, that those Israelites right there is what made the Greeks, many Greeks come in. That's what made the Greeks come in. The Greeks come in and destroyed them, because it couldn't be no two covenants. Couldn't be no two covenants. One broken, and us in Africa getting ready to be enslaved, and then one with the Israelites doing what they supposed to. So we know that didn't happen. That didn't happen. If you read the book of Nehemiah, man, he's gonna be about the last part of it. That how that they were slaves in the land, and then how it was over with. Let me see if I can pull that up. I wanted to finish reading this. This said the Elohim, alright, the labor of Egypt and merchandise of Ethiopia, deceiving men of stature shall come over unto thee, and they shall be then. They shall come after thee in chains. They shall come over, and they shall fall down unto thee. They shall make supplication unto thee, saying, surely Yah is in thee, and there is none else. There is no Yah. That means that their religions, they going to see as false when we Israelites start standing up, explaining truth in the Israelite history, and stop explaining that trickery history that's tricking everybody and stuff, using the people we abandon our heritage to history. We got to stop that mess. And then the other folks will start seeing that we the Israelites, and then they'll understand that prophecies come to pass from Prophet Moses concerning the Israelites, which is the truth. But you got to stop using the people we abandon our heritage to history. You got to stop that in order for the other folks to see that we the Israelites. Verily, verily thou, O Yah, that hidest thyself, O Yah, O Israel, the Savior, there shall they shall be ashamed and also confounded, all of them. They shall go to confusion together that are makers of idols. And that's what happened to us. The prophet Isaiah was saying this, man, before we was driven off the land, almost by 200 some years. All right. But Israel shall be saved in the Elohim with an everlasting salvation, and shall not be ashamed nor confounded, world without end. For this said the Elohim that created the heavens, he that his Yah himself that formed the earth and made it and had established it, and he created it not in vain. He formed it to be inhabited. I am the Elohim, and there is none else, and I have not spoken in secret in a dark place of the earth. I said not unto the sea. I I said not unto the seed of Jacob, seek ye not in me in vain. I the Elohim speak righteousness. I declare things that are right. Assemble yourselves and come and draw near together, ye that are escaped of the nations. They have no knowledge that set up the wood of their graven images, and pray unto God that cannot save. Tell ye and bring them near. Yeah, let them take counsel together. Who had declared this from ancient times? Who had told it from that time? Have not I the Elohim, and there is none else, and there is no God else beside me, a just Yah and a Savior. There is none else beside me. Look unto me and be ye saved, all the end of the earth, for I am the Elohim, and there is none else. I have sworn by myself, the word is gone out of my mouth, and righteousness shall not return, that unto me every knee shall bow, and every tongue shall swear. Surely shall one say in the Elohim, I have righteousness and strength. Even to him shall men come, and all that are incensed against him shall be ashamed. And in the Elohim shall all the seed of Israel be justified and glory. So we can only be justified on anything is promoting the Israelite heritage and pushing that hard line. Now this is what I want to read. All right. All right. Come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon. That's talking about America. That's talking about this country. Come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon. Sit on the ground. There is no throne, O daughter of the Chaldeans. And sure enough, the Scythians control this right now. For thou also shalt no more be called tender and delicate. Take the millstone and grind meal. Uncover thy locks, make bare the legs, uncover the thigh, pass over the rivers. Thy nakedness shall be uncovered. Yeah, thy shame shall be seen. I will take vengeance, and I will not meet thee as a man. As for our Redeemer, the Elohim of hosts is his name, the Holy One of Israel. Sit thou silent and get thee into darkness, O daughter of the Chaldeans, for thou shalt no more be called the Lady of Kingdoms. And that's that Statue of Liberty. I was wroth with my people. I have polluted mine inheritance and given them into thine hand. Thou didst show them no mercy. Men upon the ancient hast thou very heavily laid thy yoke. And that's what happened with us in this bondage that we in. Not just the slavery beat down, Paul, but the mental bondage that they done put us in how they done just changed Israelites in the animals and so forth. Oh, it's off. It's off. And thou saidest, I shall be a lady forever, so that thou didst not lay these things to thy heart, neither didst remember the latter end of it. Therefore hear now this, thou that art given to pleasure, that dwellest carelessly, that saith in thine heart, I am, and none else beside me. I shall not sit as a widow, neither shall I know the loss of children. But these two things shall come to thee in a moment, in one day, the loss of children and the widowhood. They shall come upon thee in their perfection, for the multitude of thy sorcery, in the great abundance of their enchantments. Man, it's like, man, they got all the little tokens, man, they sorcery, the queen, the Statue of Liberty, and then they got these statues right here. Uh, uh, that's that statue right there was planted in Central Park. They call it the Cleopatra Needle, but that obelisk was around when we was enslaved in Egypt in Moses' time. And then they got the worship statue, men up in New York, is gonna be the statue of Necho. He killed King Josiah and tricked us back into the Egyptian religion, and we was driven off the land, men, into the bondage that we in now, because this fella right here, and that's their enchantment and stuff, and they got that stuff hanging around New York, where the United Nations and all the other enchantments and all that stuff is at. All that stuff is together up there. It's the Statue of Liberty, all that stuff. All that stuff. But these two things shall come upon thee in a moment, in one day. The loss of children, thy widowhood, thou shalt come upon thee in the perfection, for the multitude of thy sorcery, and for thy great abundance of thine enchantments. For thou hast trust in thy wickedness. Thou hast said, none seeth me. Thy wisdom and thy knowledge, it hath prevailed thee, and thou hast said in thine heart, I am, and none else beside me. Therefore shall evil come upon thee. Thou shalt not know from whence it rises, and mischief shall fall upon thee. Thou shalt not be able to put it off, and desolation shall come upon thee suddenly, which thou hast not known. Stand now with thine enchantment, and with the multitude of thy sorcery, wherein thou hast labored from thy youth. Sure enough, this country been wicked since it first started. If so be thou shalt be able to profit, it so be thou mayest prevail. Thou art vain in the multitude of thy counsel. Let now thy astrologers and the stargazers and thy monthly procrastinators stand up and save thee from these things that shall come upon thee. Behold, they shall be as stubble. The fire shall burn them. They shall not deliver themselves from the power of the flame. There shall not be a coal to warm at, nor fire to sit before it. Nothing like it. They ain't never seen no fire like this. This shall they be unto thee with whom thou hast labored, even thy merchants from thy youth. They shall wander every one to his quarter, and none shall save thee. Meaning that all America friends is finna abandon it after it get hit with devastation, and how they finna get on down, meaning let it be on its own. You know what I'm saying? They finna let it be on its own, and then that's finna come to pass. That's finna come to pass. In those days and in that time, said the Elohim, the iniquity of Israel shall be sought for, and there shall be none in the sin of Judah, and they shall not be found, for I will pardon them whom I reserve. Look, and that's the truth, because we ain't the founders of the sin that we do now today, whereas we push sin hard, worse than our enemies did when we was in the promised land. Our enemy sins way worse than ours. Alright, Israelites, you know I'm sun is up. But man, it's easy to trick the Israelites, man, with the Israelite history, but because Israelites want to believe that all history, man, belong to us, that they got an Israelite title, and that's not so. That's not so, because we abandon our heritage to some Babylonian scribes. And they've been creating history for a long time. They've been creating history for a long time. And they have a history. Ashkenazi have a history. Ashkenazi have a history. And the Sephardists have a history. And you Israelites, if you using their history, passing it around, you know what I'm saying, then you being tricked. You being tricked. Them folks have a history. And they've been claiming our history longer than we was in the covenant. Them groups right there been claiming Israelite history longer than we was in the covenant. Ashkenazi come in 588 BC during the Babylonian Wars, all the way up to now. The Sephardists got in our heritage during Exodus, man, around 1446 or something like that. They've been in our heritage for a long time. And then, they have a history, and them folks was in our heritage longer than we had our heritage. So you have to be careful on the Israelite heritage and history that you show other Israelites, because you may be tricking them and be using these folks' history and so forth. And they have a history. You can't take it from them. It's impossible, because it's here. And Israelites use it all the time. All right, Israelites, man, we was tricked in the book of Judges. The tribe of Benjamin got tricked into some gayness. We got tricked by the Amorites, man. We been getting tricked left and right, all kind of ways. The exiles, when they come back from Babylon, they got tricked, got knocked off. We got tricked going into Africa. And this is the biggest trick right here. This right here, man, if you go to Jeremiah, this is when we tricked ourselves. And if you go to Jeremiah 44, and then you get down to 44:15, then all the men which knew that their wives had burned incense unto other gods, and all the women that stood by, a great multitude, even all the people that dwelled in the land of Egypt and Pathros, answered Jeremiah, saying, as for the word that thou hast spoken unto us in the name of the Elohim, we will not hearken unto thee, but we will certainly do so, whatever thing go forth out of our own mouth, to burn incense unto the Queen of Heaven, and to pour out drink offerings unto her, as we have done, we and our fathers, our kings, our princes, in the cities of Judah and in the streets of Jerusalem. For then had we plenty of victuals, and were well, and saw no evil. But soon as we left off to burn incense unto the Queen of Heaven, and to pour out drink offerings unto her, we have wanted all things, and have been consumed by sword and famine. That got our mouth tore out right there. We never recovered from that. And we tricked ourselves into believing that the Egyptian heritage was good for us. And we suffered for that. And Almighty Yah had said this way from the beginning. If you go to Deuteronomy, that'd be Deuteronomy 31:16. And the Elohim said unto Moses, behold, thou shalt sleep with thy fathers, and this people will rise up and go a whoring after the gods of the strangers of the land, whether they go to be among them, and will forsake me, and break my covenant which I have made with them. Then my anger shall be kindled against them in that day, and I will forsake them, and I will hide my face against them, and they shall be devoured, and many evils shall befall them. So then, if an Israelite broke the covenant, then he got to be getting devoured. Then how is them other folks claiming the Israelite heritage in the other lands not getting devoured? None of their sufferings meet the curse qualifications. And they shall be devoured, and many evils and troubles shall befall them, so that they shall say in that day, are not all these evils come upon us, because our Yah is not among us? Alright, Israelites. It's easy to be tricked using the Israelites' history. It's real easy to be tricked using the Israelite history. And if an Israelite, not saying that we went into Africa during the Babylonian Wars, all the tribes, then he tricking you. If he trying to teach you a 10 lost tribe, he tricking you. If he trying to show you that the people in the New Testament is Israelites, then he tricking you. It's easy to get tricked with this Israelite history. Alright, Israelites, this is a message from the Israelite Brotherhood. I just want to put that little history out, and much love to the Israelite Brotherhood family. It ain't gonna be too long. I'm trying to work on one of those directed garment printers. As soon as I get one, I'm gonna start sending Israelite Brotherhood t-shirts to the Israelite Brotherhood family members. Much love to the Israelite Brotherhood family members, and I pray that everybody is doing well. Shalom.